Welcome to Saving Castles, the podcast for castle and chateau enthusiasts. Join us as we explore the fascinating history, stories, and culture of these awe-inspiring structures, from the legends and folklore to the latest in restoration. We'll cover it all, so whether you're a seasoned castle aficionado or just discovering the magic of these magnificent buildings, this is the podcast for you. So grab your headphones and let's dive in.
Welcome, fellow castle enthusiasts and medieval lore aficionados, to another episode of the Camelot Chronicles series. We embark upon a captivating journey, trailing the Arthurian legend, seeking answers buried in the sands of time, and drawing parallels with the reality of history. In the heart of these stories, we find King Arthur, a figure both ethereal and timeless, straddling the line between myth and reality. He holds a sword that legends say was bestowed upon him by mystical forces, rules from a castle of unimaginable grandeur, and leads an order of knights who sat not in hierarchy, but in unity around a round table. Yet the question remains, was there a real Arthur, or is he the perfect hero born from the crucible of societal need and storytelling tradition? To seek our answers, we need to delve into the origins of Arthurian mythology. Many scholars propose that the stories we now associate with King Arthur have their roots in ancient Celtic mythology, well before any historical figure fitting Arthur's description would have lived. Some trace Arthur's origin to figures like the Celtic god Lugh or the mythical British leader Ambrosius Aurelianus. The legends speak of Arthur as a warrior leader, a unifier of Britons against invading Saxon forces, a theme reminiscent of the struggles of late antiquity Britain. Could this be the echo of a historical figure's feats, amplified by time and retelling? The elusive King Arthur's association with medieval romanticism and grandeur was likely a later addition to the narrative by authors such as Geoffrey of Monmouth and Thomas Malory. In their works, Arthur transitioned from a warrior king of folklore to the epitome of medieval chivalry, with a castle, Camelot, that served as a beacon of this newfound nobility. Speaking of Camelot, this imagined castle holds a special place in Arthurian legend and our hearts. Often depicted as an imposing fortress with towering walls, adorned with rich tapestries and filled with the melody of courtly love, Camelot is a symbol of the utopian medieval castle, with its knights of the Round Table embodying chivalry's highest ideal. The intriguing aspect is that while Camelot's opulence is an integral part of the Arthurian narrative, it isn't mentioned in the earliest iterations of the legend. Geoffrey of Monmouth, a 12th century writer and cleric who greatly popularized the Arthurian legend, made no mention of Camelot. It was the later poets and scribes who tied Arthur with the grandeur of Camelot. As castle enthusiasts, we share a deep fascination with these mythical castles and the idealized world they represent. The allure of the Arthurian legend isn't just the narrative of brave knights and fair maidens. It's the glimpse into a romanticized era where valor and honor ruled, where castles stood tall as the epitome of strength and magnificence, and where magic coexisted with reality. Yet reality is often more nuanced. Castles of the medieval era were strategic fortresses, centers of administration, and symbols of power far from the idyllic vision that legends propose. Understanding this contrast between the historical reality and the romanticized portrayal in Arthurian legends allows us a richer exploration of our castle-centered past. And so our journey begins. We'll explore the intriguing relationship between the Arthurian legend and historical reality, dive into the rich tapestry of myths, and uncover the shards of history hidden within them. We'll decode castles, not just as architectural marvels, but as symbols of their era, reflecting societal norms, dreams, and values. We'll navigate this thrilling voyage through time, guided by the beacon of Camelot, with the Arthurian legends as our compass. So, buckle up, fellow castle enthusiasts. Get ready to journey through time, to traverse the path between legend and reality, and to unravel the mysteries of King Arthur and his enthralling world of chivalry, Camelot, and the Knights of the Round Table. As we continue our exploration, we delve deeper into the enchanting and intricate web of the Arthurian legends, probing their metamorphosis over the centuries and across cultural landscapes. This progression reflects not merely changes in storytelling, but also sheds light on societal shifts, philosophical evolution, and the enduring fascination with castles and the medieval era. King Arthur's tale, in its primal form, was a far cry from the chivalric narrative we are familiar with today. As we established in our previous segment, the earliest tales of Arthur are rooted in Celtic mythology and depict him as a fierce warrior king. These accounts, primarily oral tradition, depicted Arthur as a paragon of courage and strength, unifying tribes and warding off Saxon invaders. The first significant evolution of Arthur's image came in the 9th century with the Historia Brittonum, attributed to the Welsh monk Nennius. Here, Arthur stepped from the realm of folklore into quasi-history, hailed as the defender of Britain and the victor of 12 significant battles. Then arrived Geoffrey of Monmouth, whose Historia Regum Britanniae in the 12th century took the Arthurian legend to unprecedented heights. It was Geoffrey who first imbued Arthur with the order of majesty and nobility that we associate him with today. But even in Geoffrey's account, there was no mention of Camelot or the illustrious Knights of the Round Table. These integral elements, which would become synonymous with Arthurian lore, were yet to be added by later narrators. The Round Table and its gallant knights first appeared in Roman de Brute, penned by the Norman poet Wace, while Camelot's introduction came with Chrétien de Troyes in his tale of knightly adventure, Lancelot, the Knight of the Cart. Why these introductions and modifications? As the stories passed from generation to generation, each narrator, shaped by their cultural and temporal context, added their flavors to the tale. The code of chivalry, romantic love, and the idealized Camelot were reflections of their societal values and aspirations. These elements, inherently medieval, speak volumes about the era's philosophical outlook, where honor, courtly love, and gallantry were held in high esteem. The castle, as a symbol of power, security, and status, fit perfectly into this narrative framework. It wasn't just European narrators who added to Arthur's narrative. Across the pond, American author Mark Twain presented a unique take on Arthurian legend with a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court. The satirical novel, published in 1889, offers a critique of romanticized medieval chivalry and Arthurian idealism. In the 20th and 21st centuries, Arthurian legend underwent further transformations, reflecting the changing zeitgeist. In T.H. White's The Once and Future King, the Arthurian world is one of moral complexity, while Marion Zimmer Bradley's The Mists of Avalon offers a feminist perspective, with a focus on the women of the Arthurian world. Indeed, the Arthurian legend has evolved into a rich tapestry, a multifaceted mirror reflecting the societies that have embraced and reinvented it. From the fierce Celtic warrior to the noble king of Camelot, from the chivalrous knights to the morally complex characters of modern adaptations, Arthur and his world have continued to captivate our imaginations. Each interpretation, each evolution, has brought new depth to the legend, making it a timeless narrative. In this episode, we trace the changes that Arthurian legend has undergone, how it reflected societal norms and values, and how the notion of Camelot and the knights evolved over time. It is evident that while the Arthurian legend is steeped in myth, it is also rooted in the reality of the human condition, reflecting our dreams, fears, and aspirations. Today, we set our sights on the historical reality of the era known as Late Antiquity Britain. It is a time veiled in mystery, a period that, like the Arthurian legend itself, straddles the line between history and myth. The setting is post-Roman Britain, an island on the brink of transformation. The Roman Empire, which had held sway over the land for nearly 4 centuries, was now a waning power. As the legions departed around the beginning of the 5th century, the societal, economic, and military structures they left behind began to crumble, giving way to a time often referred to as the Dark Ages. The name, however, belies the period's vibrancy and complexity. The power vacuum left by the Romans saw Britain fragmented into various tribal kingdoms. This was a society in flux, attempting to redefine itself in the absence of Roman rule. The kingdoms were a blend of Romano-British tradition and burgeoning new cultures, defined by their petty rivalries and alliances. It was during this turbulent era that the Saxon invasion began. Originating from what is now Germany, the Saxons, along with other Germanic tribes like the Angles and the Jutes, started making incursions into British territory. The narrative of the Britons' resistance against these invasions is where we find the first seeds of the Arthurian legend. As per historical texts, like the Annales Cambriae and the Historia Brittonum, a figure named Arthur emerged as a warrior leader, unifying the disparate British tribes to resist the Saxon invaders. While these texts don't refer to Arthur as a king, they credit him with significant military victories. The most notable among them is the Battle of Mount Badon, where he supposedly halted the Saxon advance for a generation. But who was this Arthur? Historians continue to debate his existence and his historical accuracy. Some theorize that he might not have been a single individual, but a composite character, an amalgamation of multiple leaders from that era. Others propose that he was a Roman-affiliated military leader, possibly a figure like Ambrosius Aurelianus, who is credited with significant victories against the Saxons. The historical backdrop of Arthur's exploits offers an intriguing contrast to the medieval romanticism of the Arthurian legend. The late antiquity Britain that Arthur would have known was a far cry from the chivalric world of Camelot. It was a land of tribal warfare, political flux, and societal change, not the courtly grandeur and gallant knighthood that later writers would associate with Arthur. Yet it is precisely this contrast that makes the Arthurian legend so fascinating. The tales are not a historical account, but rather an idealized vision of a past age, embodying a society's dreams, virtues, and aspirations. The Arthur of legend is not merely a warrior fighting invaders, but a king, a leader whose castle, Camelot, and whose fellowship of knights stand as symbols of an idealized world order. Our exploration of the Arthurian legend and its historical backdrop offers insights, not only into a particular period, but also into the power of narrative. The Arthurian tales, while steeped in medieval chivalry, have their roots in a much earlier and much different historical reality. We will sift through archaeological findings and try to piece together a picture of Arthur, the man, and the king of legend, as we forge ahead on our expedition in the Camelot Chronicles. Quest for truth, we step into the realm of trowels, sifters, and excavated wonders. Yes, we're diving into the realm of archaeology. It is through the lens of material culture that we hope to find more pieces to the tantalizing puzzle that is Arthurian legend versus historical reality. The allure of the Arthurian legends and the hope of uncovering the historical truth behind these enduring tales have ignited numerous archaeological quests. From the hallowed grounds of Glastonbury Abbey to the rocky heights of Tintagel Castle, these excavations offer intriguing insights, even if they often raise more questions than answers. Glastonbury Abbey has long been associated with Arthurian legend, primarily because of the claim that the abbey is the site of Avalon, the fabled island where Arthur was taken to heal after his final battle. In the 12th century, the monks of Glastonbury announced that they had discovered the graves of Arthur and his queen, Guinevere, lending credibility to their Avalon claim. In the 1960s, excavations led by archaeologist Raleigh Radford at Tintagel Castle in Cornwall stirred the archaeological community. The site has long been associated with Arthurian legend, thanks to Geoffrey of Monmouth, who claimed it was Arthur's birthplace. Radford's findings, which included remains of a substantial 5th century settlement, suggested a site of significant importance. potentially validating its Arthurian connection. However, it's crucial to remember that while such archaeological endeavours shed light on our historical understanding, they seldom provide definitive proof of Arthur's existence. They open a window into a time long past, but the view is not always clear. More recently, in 2016, a slate engraved with the name Artonio was unearthed at Tintagel. While some observers excitedly suggested this as proof of Arthur's existence, most scholars cautioned against jumping to conclusion. The truth is, even the most compelling archaeological evidence remains open to interpretation, reminding us that the search for the historical Arthur is as much about understanding the broader context of post-Roman Britain as it is about pinpointing a single individual. As we explore these archaeological sites and artifacts, we must consider them in the context of their time. The Dark Ages were a complex period of societal change, political flux and cultural blending, far removed from the chivalric grandeur of Arthurian legends. Yet it's precisely this contrast that makes our exploration so compelling. The stones, artifacts, and ruins that archaeologists uncover are not mere historical remnants. They are echoes from an era lost to time, offering glimpses into a world far removed from our own. Each piece of pottery, each inscribed stone, each architectural remnant is a clue leading us closer to understanding the fascinating interplay between Arthurian legend and historical reality. In this context, Camelot, the legendary castle, becomes even more intriguing. Despite the castle's prominent role in Arthurian legend, no archaeological evidence conclusively ties any real-world castle to the fabled Camelot. Yet our fascination with Camelot persists, reflecting our cultural obsession with castles and their symbolic power. The archaeological explorations associated with Arthurian legend serve as a reminder of the dynamic relationship between legend and history, between our perceptions of the past and its realities. The stories of Arthur, Camelot, and the Knights of the Round Table may be grounded in myth, but they continue to shape our understanding of historical events and eras. Our journey now takes us to the very heart of Arthurian legend, to a castle that is much more than mere stone and mortar. Camelot, in its grandeur and symbolism, encapsulates the charm, intrigue, and timeless allure of the Arthurian tales. Camelot is more than just a castle. It is a symbol, a representation of the ideals that the Arthurian world holds dear. It signifies order amidst chaos, justice in the face of tyranny, and unity where division threatens. Though no physical evidence has yet been found to confirm the existence of a real Camelot, its symbolic impact is undeniable. Camelot was not an original element in the earliest Arthurian stories. It was Chrétien de Troyes who first introduced Camelot into Arthurian lore in the 12th century. This was an era steeped in feudalism, where castles symbolized power, authority, and security. By associating Arthur with Camelot, Chrétien gave a tangible representation to the king's nobility and leadership. In many ways, Camelot embodies the values of medieval chivalry that the Arthurian legends espouse. The castle, with its grand halls, towering ramparts, and royal court, is the stage upon which Arthur and his knights demonstrate their courage, honour, and courtly love. It serves as the backdrop to the tales of heroism, valour, and noble quests that form the bedrock of Arthurian legend. It's important to note that Camelot is not only a place of chivalric deeds, but also a space for wisdom and learning. In the castle's confines, Arthur's trusted adviser, Merlin, imparts wisdom and guidance. The tales often depict the court of Camelot as a hub of intellectual discourse, again reflecting the ideals of the era. The placement of the round table within Camelot is especially significant. This table, where all knights sit as equals, embodies the ideals of fairness and equality. By housing the round table within Camelot, the castle itself becomes a symbol of these ideals. It represents a utopian vision of society where might is balanced with right, where every voice matters, and where justice prevails. What makes Camelot truly resonate with readers and castle enthusiasts alike, though, is the sense of enchantment that imbues its stone walls. This is a castle of the imagination, shaped as much by the deeds and dramas within its halls as by its physical features. From its magnificent architecture to its renowned inhabitants, Camelot invites us into a world where myth and reality intertwine. Despite numerous theories about Camelot's possible real-life location from Cadbury Castle in Somerset to the Roman fort of Camulodunum, modern-day Colchester, no definitive archaeological evidence has emerged. Yet this lack of concrete proof does not diminish Camelot's cultural significance. If anything, it enhances its symbolic power, allowing it to exist outside the constraints of historical fact. The Camelot of Arthurian legend, therefore, is not just a castle, but an emblem of a society's aspirations and ideals. It encapsulates the qualities of leadership, bravery, and justice that King Arthur and his knights represent. It is a reminder of a bygone era, offering a glimpse into a world shaped by nobility, chivalry, and gallantry. As we continue our quest, we'll delve deeper into the symbolism of the Round Table and explore how these ideals were enacted by Arthur and his knights. We turn our gaze to an artifact that epitomizes the Arthurian ideals of chivalry and equality, the Round Table. This isn't just a piece of furniture. It's an emblem of an ideal society, a powerful symbol in the grand narrative of Arthurian legend. The Round Table holds a special place in Arthurian lore, representing a realm where rank and hierarchy are secondary to courage, wisdom, and virtue. All who sit at the Round Table are seen as equals, irrespective of their birth or status, a remarkably progressive concept for a society steeped in feudalism. The origins of the Round Table are murky in historical texts, with the first mention found in the Roman de Brute, an epic poem written by Wace, a Norman poet in the 12th century. The poet described how Arthur ordered a round table to be made so that his knights, sitting as equals, would avoid quarrels over precedence. This idea was later expanded upon by writers like Sir Thomas Malory in his Le Morte d'Arthur, in which the table becomes a gift from Arthur's father-in-law with spots for 150 knights. The symbolic resonance of the Round Table lies in its shape, a circle with no head or foot, where every position is equal, encapsulates the values of fairness, unity, and fellowship. It stands as a stark contrast to the long rectangular tables typically used in the great halls of castles, where the lord sat at the head and rank determined one's proximity to him. In the Arthurian world, the Round Table signifies more than just equality. It's a forum for dialogue and decision-making where wisdom is valued as much as bravery. The knights who sit around it are not just warriors, but also advisors, scholars, and diplomats. The tales tell us of heated debates and strategic discussions echoing within the halls of Camelot, further emphasizing the democratic ethos of the Arthurian court. Moreover, the Round Table serves as the launching point for numerous quests and adventures. It is here that the knights swear their allegiance to the king and to the code of chivalry. The vow taken by the knights, as detailed in Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur, embodies virtues like courage, honour, courtesy, and defence of the weak, the bedrock of chivalry. Of particular note is the Siege Perilous, the seat at the Round Table reserved for the knight who would eventually find the Holy Grail. This vacant seat, deadly to any unworthy man who attempts to occupy it, symbolizes the quest for divine grace, further enhancing the spiritual dimension of Arthurian legend. Whether or not the Round Table ever existed is a matter of debate, with no archaeological evidence supporting its existence. Yet the lack of physical proof does not diminish the table's symbolic power. It remains an emblem of the high ideals and virtues that Arthur and his knights aspire to uphold. In the Round Table, we find a fusion of historical reality and legendary idealism. It encapsulates the essence of Arthurian lore. It allows us to imagine a world where the noblest qualities of humanity are celebrated, and where the pursuit of virtue is a quest in itself. As we continue our journey through the labyrinth of Arthurian legend and historical reality, we'll delve into the lives of Arthur's knights, exploring their deeds, their quests, and their complex relationship with their king. As we delve deeper into the heart of the Arthurian narrative, we come face to face with Arthur's loyal comrades in arms, the Knights of the Round Table. This esteemed brotherhood of knights, steeped in honour and bound by loyalty, plays a crucial role in the saga, bringing with them tales of courage, love, and betrayal. The very term, knight, carries with it a weight of symbolism, evoking images of gallant warriors astride their horses, adorned in armour, guided by a stringent code of chivalry. Yet the knights we encounter in Arthurian legend are not just formidable warriors. They are also complex characters with their own intricate storylines and personal quests. Perhaps the most famous of these is Sir Lancelot, the French knight who rose to prominence in Chrétien de Troyes' romantic tales. Lancelot embodies the quintessential knight. He is courageous, skilled in combat, and fiercely loyal to his king. Yet he's also flawed. His forbidden love affair with Queen Guinevere brings about the downfall of the Arthurian world, thus adding a tragic dimension to his character. Then there's Sir Gawain, Arthur's nephew, known for his noble character and unwavering loyalty to his king. Gawain's character is explored in detail in the Middle English chivalric romance, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, where his bravery, courtesy, and honesty are tested in a series of trials. Gawain's character represents the tension between the knightly ideals of chivalry and the human propensity to err. We also have the spiritual knight Sir Galahad, the pure-hearted son of Lancelot, who is the only one worthy of the siege perilous at the Round Table. It is Galahad who ultimately achieves the quest for the Holy Grail, a symbol of divine grace and enlightenment in Arthurian legend. Galahad's narrative underscores the spiritual dimension of the Arthurian tales, where the pursuit of virtue and spiritual fulfillment is as important as martial prowess. The knights in Arthurian legend are far from the one-dimensional warrior figures often associated with medieval knights. They have their unique narratives, imbued with shades of grey. The interplay of their virtues and vices creates a rich tapestry of character development that adds depth and complexity to the Arthurian saga. Interestingly, the existence of a historic knightly order associated with the historical King Arthur remains unproven. The earliest chronicles, such as Gildas's De Excidio et Conquestu Britanniae and Nenninus's Historia Britanum, make no mention of Arthur's knights. The concept of the Round Table and its knightly order seems to have evolved as part of the Arthurian legend during the Middle Ages, reflecting the societal ideals of the time. Nevertheless, these legendary knights and their deeds have made an indelible mark on our cultural imagination. They symbolize a bygone era of chivalry, honor, and adventure. Their stories, whether of heroism or betrayal, love or rivalry, evoke a sense of nostalgia for a time when valor and virtue were the highest ideal. As we proceed with our exploration, we now turn our focus to a concept that is central to the Arthurian world chivalry. This code of conduct, woven into the fabric of Arthurian legend, defined not only the Knights of Camelot but also their king. It is a mirror reflecting the ideals and aspirations of medieval society. The notion of chivalry, as we understand it, finds its origins in the Middle Ages, evolving from the martial code of the mounted warrior class. The term chivalry itself is derived from the French chevalier, meaning knight or horseman. Initially, chivalry was primarily about martial prowess, bravery and loyalty to one's lord. Yet over time, it developed a richer, more nuanced meaning, encompassing virtues such as honor, courtesy, justice, and service to the weak and oppressed. In Arthurian legend, chivalry is the moral compass guiding Arthur and his knights. They are not merely warriors, but also champions of justice and protectors of the realm. They swear an oath of allegiance to their king and their code, vowing to uphold the virtues of chivalry in all their deeds. Arthur himself exemplifies the chivalric ideal. He is not just a king, but also a knight among knights, demonstrating courage, wisdom, and fairness. His role goes beyond ruling. He sets the moral standard for his knights, emphasizing the importance of righteousness and honor over mere physical strength. This is evident in the tales where Arthur's decisions are guided not by power or personal gain, but by justice and the common good. A perfect example is his commitment to the concept of trial by combat, which, although seemingly brutal to us, was seen as a divine judgment in medieval times, underlining his faith in justice. Arthur's knights, too, strive to live up to this code of chivalry. We see this in their individual quests, where they often face moral dilemmas that test their adherence to the chivalric virtues. From Sir Gawain's trials in Sir Gawain and the Green Knight to Sir Galahad's quest for the Holy Grail, we see the code of chivalry shaping their actions and decisions. Importantly, chivalry in the Arthurian world is not just about martial valor and moral virtue. It also involves the ideal of courtly love. This is an ethos of noble and chaste love, often secret and unrequited, where the knight serves his lady with the same devotion he offers his king. The complex relationship between Lancelot and Guinevere serves as the quintessential example of this aspect of chivalry, adding an extra layer of complexity to the Arthurian narrative. The notion of chivalry, while a product of the medieval imagination, is not supported by substantial historical evidence. The image of the chivalrous knight, as depicted in Arthurian legend, is more a romanticized ideal than a reflection of historical reality. Yet it offers invaluable insight into the medieval mind and its values. In the world of Arthurian legend, chivalry provides a framework for understanding the complex interplay of power, duty, honor, and love. It adds depth to the characters, enhancing their human qualities while also creating a moral and ethical dimension to their actions. We now set off on the most sacred and spiritually profound quest in Arthurian legend, the search for the Holy Grail. More than a mere artifact, the Grail serves as a symbol of divine grace, a beacon guiding Arthur's knights on a path of spiritual self-discovery and enlightenment. The Holy Grail, depicted as a dish, plate, or cup with miraculous powers, first appeared in Chrétien de Troyes' Percival, The Story of the Grail. The Grail's Christian symbolism was later reinforced in works like Robert de Boron's Joseph d'Arimathie, where the Grail is identified as the cup used by Christ at the Last Supper and later used to collect his blood at the crucifixion. The quest for the Holy Grail emerges as a divine mission for Arthur's knights, a test of their spiritual purity rather than their martial prowess. It is not a quest that all are called to, nor is it one that all can complete. This quest represents the epitome of the spiritual dimension of chivalry, underscoring the importance of inner virtue over physical strength. Notably, it is the pure and virtuous Sir Galahad who ultimately succeeds in finding the Holy Grail. His achievement signifies the culmination of the spiritual journey, a reaching towards divine understanding and enlightenment. Galahad's quest is filled with religious significance and serves as a mirror to the soul's journey toward divine grace in Christian theology. The impact of the Grail quest on Arthur's court is profound. It exposes the imperfections and human failings of his knights. Lancelot, despite his knightly virtues, is deemed unworthy because of his illicit love for Queen Guinevere. Sir Gawain, despite his bravery and loyalty, fails in his mission due to his lack of spiritual purity. These failures highlight the complexity and moral ambiguity inherent in the Arthurian world. The Grail quest also signals the beginning of the end for Arthur's reign. The unity of the Round Table begins to fray as the knights set off on their individual quests. This fragmentation of Arthur's court marks a shift from the communal ideals of chivalry towards a more introspective, individualistic quest for spiritual enlightenment. The quest for the Holy Grail, while central to the Arthurian legend, does not have a clear historical foundation. There is no evidence that a physical Grail ever existed, or that it was sought by a historical Arthur or his knights. The Grail appears to be a literary invention, a symbolic artifact embodying the spiritual aspirations of the medieval mind. Despite its historical ambiguity, the Holy Grail continues to captivate our imagination. It symbolizes our universal quest for meaning, for understanding, and for a connection with the divine. It reflects our human longing for something beyond the material world, for a transcendence that gives purpose to our mortal lives. We find ourselves on the cusp of twilight, standing at the precipice of the downfall of Camelot. The vibrant tapestry of chivalric deeds and noble quests is replaced by a tragic narrative of love, betrayal, and war. The very pillars that held the Arthurian world together, loyalty, honor, and brotherhood, start to crumble. The seeds of Camelot's destruction are sown not on the battlefield, but within the walls of the castle, within the heart of the Queen Guinevere. Her illicit love for Sir Lancelot, Arthur's trusted friend and the greatest of his knights, becomes the fissure that cracks the unity of the Round Table. This love triangle, an embodiment of personal desires clashing with societal duties, precipitates a series of events leading to Camelot's downfall. The affair, when revealed, has a shattering impact on the Round Table's camaraderie. Arthur is forced into a tragic position. Bound by his kingly duty, he must order the punishment of his wife and his friend, causing a severe fracture in his fellowship. Lancelot, torn between his loyalty to Arthur and his love for Guinevere, escapes, setting the stage for a bitter conflict. This personal tragedy spirals into a broader conflict when Arthur lays siege to Lancelot's castle, leaving his kingdom vulnerable. Taking advantage of Arthur's absence, his illegitimate son Mordred usurps the throne, triggering a civil war. This betrayal underscores the motif of internal discord and broken loyalties, leading to the downfall of a great kingdom. The culmination of this tragedy is the Battle of Camelot, a conflict steeped in sorrow and loss. Arthur and Mordred meet on the battlefield, delivering fatal blows to each other. With his dying breath, Arthur orders Sir Bedivere to return his magical sword Excalibur to the Lady of the Lake, symbolically marking the end of the Arthurian era. Historically, the Battle of Camelot is mentioned in the Annales Cumbriae, a set of Welsh annals, marking it as Arthur's last battle. However, the details about Mordred's treachery and the Arthur-Lancelot-Guinevere love triangle are products of later medieval romance tradition. The downfall of Camelot is a poignant narrative of how personal failings can lead to widespread disaster. Yet, despite the tragedy, it provides valuable insights into the human condition. The characters, in their virtues and vices, their glory and downfall, become reflections of our own strengths and weaknesses. As we approach the end of our journey, we find ourselves on the shores of Avalon. This mythical island, veiled in mists of legend and lore, serves as the final resting place of King Arthur, a place of rest, healing, and hope. The name Avalon, derived from the Old Welsh Abalon, meaning apple tree, speaks to the island's idyllic nature. It is often depicted as a paradise, brimming with lush orchards and enchanted springs, a place where time stands still, and the mortal world's woes fade away. Here, the wounded Arthur is brought to heal, disappearing from the realm of men, but leaving a promise of his return. The story of Arthur's journey to Avalon is imbued with potent symbolism. Mortally wounded at the Battle of Camelot, Arthur is carried away by a group of mysterious ladies, often depicted as fairy women or priestesses, who represent Avalon's magical and otherworldly nature. Among them is Morgan Le Fay, a figure of powerful enchantment in Arthurian legend, depicted variously as Arthur's adversary or as a benevolent sorceress aiding his journey to Avalon. Avalon emerges as a liminal space between life and death, reality and myth, signifying not just an end, but a transition. It embodies the Celtic notion of otherworld, a realm beyond mortal understanding, where heroes rest and rejuvenate before their prophesied return. The voyage to Avalon is as mystical as the island itself, Arthur, upon his barge, glides over a tranquil sea under a twilight sky, an image that has fired the imagination of countless artists and writers. This journey signifies the king's shift from a historical figure to a legendary hero whose deeds and virtues transcend the confines of mortality. Despite Avalon's central place in Arthurian legend, its historical and geographical reality remains elusive. It is often linked with Glastonbury, a site steeped in Christian and pagan lore. In the 12th century, monks at Glastonbury Abbey claimed to have discovered Arthur's and Guinevere's graves, reinforcing the association. However, these claims, most likely a ploy to attract pilgrims, lack conclusive archaeological evidence. Whether Avalon was real or merely an invention of medieval imaginations, it serves an essential role in the Arthurian narrative. It is a symbol of hope in the face of despair, a testament to the enduring spirit of King Arthur. His journey to Avalon encapsulates the belief in the once-and-future king, the hero who will return in his people's hour of need. This belief is not merely a literary trope, but echoes an ancient Celtic tradition of the undying hero, one who is not defeated by death but awaits in slumber, for the right moment to rise again. This is the promise of Arthur, a promise that lends a spark of optimism even in the tragedy of Camelot's downfall. We stand on the threshold of Avalon, reflecting on the journey we've undertaken. The tale of Arthur, while echoing with the clang of swords and the clamour of battles, speaks to us on a deeper level. It invites us to ponder upon the nature of heroism, the complexities of duty and desire, the trials of leadership, and the enduring hope of salvation. We've travelled through time, delving into the depth of Arthurian legend, scrutinizing its historical roots, unravelling its rich tapestry of myths and tales. As our journey draws to a close, we are left to ponder the enduring legacy of King Arthur and his eternal realm, Camelot. Arthurian legend, though rooted in the misty dawn of the Middle Ages, continues to captivate our collective imagination. The reasons for this are manifold and woven into the very fabric of the narratives we've explored. These stories are timeless, their themes universal: love, loyalty, courage, betrayal, and the quest for a higher truth. King Arthur himself embodies the archetype of the hero king, a figure of valour and wisdom, flawed yet striving for righteousness. His story is a human one, resonating with our own struggles, our triumphs and failures, our quests for meaning and purpose. Camelot, the fabled castle and court, serves as an embodiment of an ideal society, marked by justice, unity, and noble pursuits. The Round Table, with its principle of equality among knights, reflects democratic ideals that resonate even in the modern world. Camelot may have fallen, yet it endures in our collective consciousness, an aspiration for a better, fairer society. The Arthurian narrative is more than just a tale of knights and kings, battles and quests. It is a moral and philosophical exploration, probing the complexities of duty, honour, love, and spiritual enlightenment. It offers us insights into the human condition, revealing our potential for both greatness and folly. The enduring legacy of Arthurian legend is evident in its profound influence on literature and popular culture. From medieval romances to Victorian poetry, from T.H. White's The Once and Future King to the Broadway musical Camelot, from the fantasy works of J.R.R. Tolkien to the cinematic universe of the Harry Potter series, the Arthurian narrative continues to inspire and shape creative expressions. Historically, the figure of Arthur served as a symbol of national identity, especially in Britain. Arthur's promised return, the legend of the once and future king, was a beacon of hope during periods of crisis and change. Even today, Arthur stands as a symbol of national resilience and collective unity. Despite the centuries that separate us from the historical Arthur, if indeed such a figure existed, the Arthurian narrative continues to resonate with modern audiences. This is not because we believe in the literal truth of these legends, but because we recognize their symbolic and allegorical truths. As we conclude this episode, we recognize that the real power of the Arthurian legend lies not in its historical veracity, but in its enduring relevance. It speaks to us across the chasm of time, echoing with ancient wisdom and timeless human experiences. It invites us to contemplate on our own quests, our own battles and victories, our own search for meaning and truth. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through time and legend. We've walked through the halls of Camelot, ridden with the Knights of the Round Table, and voyaged to the mystical island of Avalon. As we part ways, remember that the realm of Camelot survives, not as a physical castle, but as an eternal kingdom in our collective consciousness, a testament to the enduring power of story and myth. Until our next castle quest, may the spirit of Camelot guide you in your own journeys of exploration and discovery. Goodbye, dear listeners, and fare thee well. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Saving Castles podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll continue to explore the fascinating world of castles and chateaux. Don't miss out and subscribe to our podcast to get notified when new episodes are released. For more information about us and our work, visit savingcastles.com. Thank you for listening.